best in town.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Podcast the Sequel, where we discuss the good, the bad, and the continued. I'm Marissa.
I'm Manira.
I'm Joseph.
Hello there.
And that is Ryan. And based on his greeting, I don't know if you can tell, but today we're going to be discussing what I think is probably our most controversial sequels. And I say that only based on the fact that we are starting with a specific episode. So today we're going to be talking about Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. But before that, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're kind of just going to give a little bit of summary of one, because I feel like there's a lot of different consensus of like, is one really one? Is 4 the first one? Like, is this, so we're going to keep it pretty simple. We're just going to, 2 was obviously a sequel, and we're going to start with 2. So we'll just give a brief summary, a brief little background of one, kind of switch up the game a little bit, and then kind of mostly talk about episode 2 in this one. So if you want to hear our thoughts on Star Wars, just keep trucking along with us. But for the most part, Star Wars is obviously, if you haven't heard about Star Wars, you're in the Star Wars. It's pretty much everywhere. It's probably one of the biggest properties, especially with Disney climbing on board. Star Wars is probably the most globally influential American space opera of all time. 1977, George Lucas released his first movie, and kind of gave us this expanded universe that we now have and we know as Star Wars, expanding with TV shows, films, kind of a little bit of everything. So not only having a lot of box office success, vast merchandising range, but also gave us a lot of impacts with pop culture, as well as giving us special effects, storytelling, and just overall in the film industry. Brief description.
Yeah.
So we're going to start off briefly just talking once again about Star Wars Phantom Menace, which is episode 1, just to give us a baseline, and then we'll hop in. I don't know if you guys have anything that you specifically want to say in regards of the summary of Star Wars Episode 1, of what, like, keeping it real brief.
The only thing I would say, as you might tell a Star Wars fan, is that after some time has been settled and new episodes have come out, I appreciate the prequel movies a lot more now as time has passed than, was it 9... What was 6, 6, 7, 8, 9? Those movies are progressively got worse and worse as it went on.
And we will eventually get to all of those as well, because those, regardless of how you look at it, are all sequels. Yeah, those are all going to be sequels. So eventually we're going to get to those as well. But
are we going to do this every May until we finish?
Yeah, probably, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's something to look forward to.
Yeah, there's a couple weeks in May, so we'll probably hit at least 4 of them here, and then we'll probably finish them, right?
If you like the Star Wars.
Yeah, if you're cool with
like
the Star Wars and you don't hate the fact that we're starting here, then
fuck it, I don't
Cool.
give a shit. I don't give a shit where you think we should start. This is where we're starting.
Yeah, I just felt like this would appease both states. I mean, we're gonna get to when we get to what we get to.
When you find this 7 years from when the video has come out, and you're like, we're already done with Star Wars, you could play it in any order you want.
Yeah, you can start with however you want to start, but in episode 1, in a galaxy far, far away, Marissa was once again annoyed by subtext crawl that she could barely read. So that's pretty much how it opens. And this movie is basically just talking about what? Trade Federation?
Trade Federation.
In space.
Yeah, we got a little political here. For a big word for people that keep talking about nowadays, tariffs were being pushed out, and the Trade Federation was being pretty much pushed and given money by the Sith, and they want to invade Naboo. So that's where we start off with, and then they send the Jedis to negotiate. Obviously, those negotiations did not happen, and I remember as a kid I loved it because it's Star Wars. You're just like, oh my god, it's back! Like, here we go. I always thought Darth Maul looked sick as fuck, so I was like, I'm in. But now watching as an adult, I still enjoy them. I really have a good time with this movie now. Like you said, it's aged better than like what we've gotten from Disney. So I'm like, I'm okay with it. But yeah, there's certain things where I'm just like, that's just total shift from having a sci-fi adventure, which is the original trilogy, to now, in my opinion, the prequel is more of like a political thriller, where one man is pretty much the puppeteer of just like running himself into becoming the Supreme Chancellor, which is obviously Palpatine. So yeah, there's things I love about it. There's things I...
Palpatine?
Yeah. Yeah. Palpatine is
Yeah.
Darth Sidious. Spoiler alert.
Oh yeah, if you haven't seen,
You don't know
this,
about
Sorry, yeah, if you don't know the wars, but it was funny because
This
Moody...
40-year-old
You don't know
movie.
what the deal
yeah, that's fucking old. Moody brought it up. She's like, why when like Darth Sidious, why does he have the hood? You could tell it's him. And I'm like, well, you know, they're
you can
just...
absolutely, yeah. I think I wrote that down.
Choices were made.
Yeah, like I think I wrote that down where I was just like, who's obviously not him.
It's obviously the senator from Naboo.
I did say this though when we were watching. I was like, I love that they used the same guy from the original trilogy,
And they just
because they
de-aged
doctored.
him.
Yeah, because he had all the prosthetics on and everything. And then I said it was like when what they did to what's her nose from Harry Potter, McGonagall.
Yeah.
Because she's in Hook, and
yeah.
they aged her so well that when she got old, she just looked like an ageless vampire. Like, how old is she? She was 80 in Hook, and now she's 80 in Harry Potter.
Yeah. So pretty much the entire first episode, what you basically need to know in a nutshell, if you haven't seen them and you've been living under a cave rock for however long, is we get basically introduced to these groups of people. We get Jedis. We get, basically a space trade federation going on, happening. There's war afoot. There's so much happening here. We're basically just immediately plunged into this world of space and creatures and, different types of groupings where your Jedis are pretty much your Buddhists of the movie, who have essentially their own religion. And basically we're kind of just fighting for freedom at this point. We go to different planets. I know they already mentioned like Naboo and Tatooine, and, we get pod racing, which I think for most 12-year-olds at the time, that
Can't
was
escape tattooing on Star Wars.
yeah,
dude.
that was
Never can.
that was the thing that I remember is every 12-year-old had their first sexual awakening when the pod race is happening, and the Darth Maul had the two lightsabers stick out. So that was pretty much what I remember. So I mean, that's pretty much the bare bones of the story. Is what,
and I will say, just to add in
on.
real quick, I do think the Darth Maul Obi-Wan Qui-Gon lightsaber duel is probably one of the most important duels of all time, because if Qui-Gon lives, the whole thing changes.
Yeah.
His death is what domino affects everything else that takes place in the Star Wars universe, especially in the Skywalker saga.
Yeah. I told her fun facts, whatever, my nerdisms, that when Qui-Gon dies, I was like, hey, that it was supposed to be Obi-Wan that died originally. That's why Alec Guinness in A New Hope says, Obi-Wan Kenobi, that's not a name I've heard in a long time. Not because he's Obi-Wan, but because he was supposed to be Qui-Gon in the older version. Fun little fun fact. They switched the story around and rewrites and things, but
so my personal fun fact for this movie, which I don't know if I've ever told you about this, because I don't know, we watched Star Wars together a couple times. I had never seen 4, 5, and 6. I actually started with 1 in the theaters. I was, I think, 8 when this movie came out. 8 or 9? Because it came out in 1999? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was, and it was May of, right? So I was 8. Do the math. But I mean, yeah, I was like, this is my first experience. I think I saw it with maybe a spring break kids club typey thing, and I loved it. I loved doing the pod racing. I loved the pod racing scene. I got to play the games. That was my in with Star Wars, and then that led me to watch the other ones. I think I've seen 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9 in theaters. I didn't see 4, 5, 6.
I have seen everyone in theaters.
I just never have been around 4, 5, and 6 to be in theaters. But I mean, if it was, I probably would just.
Yeah.
I only saw the new trilogy in theaters. Plus Rogue One.
It was a sight to behold. It was fun, especially because when 4, 5, and 6 came, where they were reintroducing them into theaters, it was him putting all his special touches and things into it.
His weird frog singing lady.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get there. So this was, I kind of followed the story pretty much as
chronologically.
1, 2, 3, 4, as you would say, not 4, 5, 6. But I don't know how I feel about necessarily the 4, 5, and 6, and then the 1, 2, and 3. I get what he was wanting to do and said and all these things, but I don't know. It just seems a little rather silly.
I do say that this generation is starting out in chronological order, and there are people out there that say that that should be the way that you watch it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, just chronological as it
Yeah.
goes, because there's no point in being like.
I mean, to me, it's like that's the argument, right? Because like, so we're a sequel podcast, so it kind of just makes it a little funky. Not just for, like, I'm sure George Lucas wasn't back in the 70s being like, ha ha ha, I can't wait to screw these kids over in 50 years, but it just makes it kind of weird to go back and like we've gotten a lot of like origin stories, prequels, sequels, reboots, all of these things that are happening, and I feel like that's pretty much Star Wars, what all of that is encompassing. And then furthermore, we're getting shows like what is it, Ahsoka, we're getting, like obviously we've got spin-off movies, Rogue One,
Andor,
we're getting all of this stuff. So like, and these aren't necessarily like, they're in different time pockets in between movies, and we have all of these different things. So I feel like that's why for me I wanted to start with 2, because I feel like that's kind of appeases everybody, and nobody's like, you're starting with 1 but 4 is the first one, and the blah, blah, blah.
No, I mean, yeah, it came out first, but in the timeline of things that happen, this is a logical place to start. The beginning.
Like for example, when I introduced Star Wars to you, we started 3, 4, 5, 6. I just skipped 1 and 2. Yeah.
Why?
Well, we'll get into it.
Yeah, it's hard to.
Okay,
It's hard to make that deep dive.
I was fine with 3 just being the winch point to get into 4, 5, and 6.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I think I always tell this story, like when I was in high school, we were doing like we had to do like an abridged version of a movie, and it was like supposed to be under like 5 minutes or something like that. So a lot of people did a bunch of different fun little movies. My team specifically decided to do Star Wars 1 through 6 abridged, all in 5 minutes. And literally like one of the only things that we focused on from like 1 we just spent like a little bit of time on, but like 2 was pretty much like, spoiler, like, oh my god, you cut my hand, I love you, I don't love you, I love you, I don't love you, and then like, oh my god, there's clones, and literally it was like a matter of sentences, and then we moved on to 3. Like it was like 2 is probably, in my opinion, like the least interesting one of the original 6.
I think it's
just
most
the original
forgettable
6.
one.
I can see why, because it's a lot to take in, especially like when they were coming out and the ages of certain people when it came out. It's a lot to follow for storytelling purposes. Like all it is set up into 3, and then the rest of the series. But it is important because it is a master plan starting to come together until you get Order 66, and it all starts kind of being unraveled as to
manipulation of Palpatine really takes place
yeah.
in 2, where he's just pulling every single fucking string you could imagine. And it really takes place, especially that end shot of like we'll get into it. I don't want to go to.
So before we completely deep dive into episode 2, is there any specific plot points or any specific characters that we want to mention about specifically with episode 1? I was like, once again, don't want to go in too crazy, just want to briefly mention so that way we can set up into 2 and kind of just go right.
I think the most important character in the first one is obviously Jar Jar, because of what is the role he plays in the second one.
100%.
Like, yeah.
Which you want to hate him, but you can't, because he's an integral part of
just
the
annoying.
story.
Which, fun fact, you originally remember that Michael Jackson was going to try to be Jar Jar Binks?
Get out.
That is,
no.
that is a true
me say
statement.
hee hee. Yeah, like that would have been wild. He met with George Lucas for the role, and George was just like, "Yeah, I think we're gonna go in a different direction." But yeah, Jar Jar is a big fucking as annoying as he is in that film, he does play a vital role of the whole fucking army becoming a thing because of what happens in part 2. So, Jar Jar is one of the most specific ones that I would mention for episode 1.
Yeah, I want to specifically also mention Anakin, just because as we later find out, once again another spoiler, he ends up becoming Darth Vader. So this is kind of his origins story, if you will, and then we kind of get this very like religious prophecy that's being told throughout 1 and 2 of the one who's going to bring balance to the Force, which a Force is. I was actually going to leave it up to you guys to explain what the Force means, because I feel like I don't really know if you can explain.
You can explain the Force, and I wish that I had done more research into the Force, but from, let's just say, the way that I understand it at this moment in time, which does change drastically through every time they release something new. It is a ancient religion. It dates back well before episode 1. And it's when you're in tune with everything.
The elements and the powers.
Sure, if you want to
whatever.
like break it down to like Avatar or something like that, being in tune with like the universe, and you can see past, future, present, and all that.
Yeah, and there's more. Yeah, and it's
there's way more into it.
Midichlorians off the charts.
And I knew that was gonna. I told her, I was like, Joseph's gonna talk a lot about Acolyte, just because it ruined
the whole
the
thing
whole
from the first one. Like they changed. Like you said, they changed the theory and the rules every time they release something new, which makes no fucking sense.
And I wonder more so is that, do you think like from the actual storytelling, like the books and everything, or do you think this is more so like fans being like, oh, well, but then you this and the.
To be honest, Star Wars is a very toxic fan base.
It is, yeah.
Like people will hate on this just because of our opinions and
my
bare bones explanation of what the Force
I'm
is.
expecting them to, but
I'm not going to get into that much detail with it because like we only have this much pocket of time to talk about each movie. But like every time that they come out with something, like you can't. The whole point of it is that like it was an immaculate conception, like. Just
religious.
the I mean, there's religious tones to it because honestly, like Jedi is a religion.
Yeah.
In that universe that we live in.
It's a Buddhist religion.
Yeah. Buddhism.
Well, it's also like a mixture. I feel like it's also like it reminds me a mixture of, if you can, Buddhism and Catholic, because they also have like, may the force be with you. So I always think of like peace be with you and also with you. Yeah, I was like, so I always think that nature. But
it is, and also the fact that they kind of become priests.
They're very
very preachy, very
priests and nuns kind of thing.
And we'll get into that more with like episode 2 because they have a specific scene where they talk about Jedi and everything like that. But I just want to mention Anakin and him kind of growing up, and we see where he basically comes from, literally.
The main thing that I wanted to say about the Force, though, is Dave Filoni has said it best, that it's about balance. That it doesn't matter who, like, anyone can win this round or that round, but it comes back
Balanced
to
out.
balance.
Yeah.
Like the reason that Qui-Gon loses, the reason that Darth Vader is this, the reason
the rule of two.
Yeah.
the rule of two.
Yeah.
Like, but it's also more than that, because even in like, if you want to jump all the way into episode 9, when Palpatine's like, whatever, there's a whole unseen congregation of Sith that exists. So like, it's all about balance.
Yeah. I feel like that's I feel like that's also very religious as well. Like the balance between good and evil. You've got, like your devils and angels.
Even Anakin, he didn't have a father. He was just
immaculate conception.
Yeah. Well, so we thought.
Yeah,
until something came out, and that's where I was like, yes, he's gonna want to touch on that a little bit, just because you can't be. Well, it's considered canon, right? Like it's in the universe. It's out. If it's on Disney, it's fucking canon
the Force
now, right?
to create Anakin. Yeah.
Oh, Disney, what are you doing?
Ancient witches doing things or whatever. I didn't watch it.
I had to explain that to her because when that episode dropped, I remember looking at her and being like, oh my god,
they put their fingers in it again.
Yeah, and
getting too sticky with the fudge.
Doing a little too much. Where it's just like now then there's a comic that explained it even more, and I'm just like, just why? I'm like.
I also, and that's the other thing too, is it's not just movies and TV shows. There's also books, comics, and certain ones are considered canon and some are no longer considered canon.
So obviously there's a lot going on.
Oh yes,
sorry,
a lot going on. I just want to briefly touch on the ending of episode 1, so we can basically lead up into the story of episode 2. So. I'm not going to say spoilers again because obviously
you know what it is.
Obviously, at this point, you know what's got.
We're in the deep,
It's a 26-year-old movie.
We basically have these two main Jedis that we're following throughout episode 1. One of them ends up dying, and basically his dying wish is for the other one, which I will label Ewan McGregor for now. He basically asks him to take Anakin, and basically show him the Jedi way, which is
Yeah.
kind of a controversial thing for the rest of the Jedi group team.
It's only controversial to Yoda
Yes.
because he is.
Mace
Yoda's
just
like-
Mace just hated him.
and Yoda's just like the master kid, whatever. He's
Yeah.
he's a little green goblin.
And then
Not
also female Yoda as well.
Oh yeah.
All right. So basically that's where we are. So episode 2, we get into pretty much, what is it? 10
years
after the
first
Yeah,
one,
so
yeah.
10 years after the first one, we see a much older Anakin now.
He's 19
still
now.
with Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan Kenobi. And they're on some fun-filled adventures and such. So Padme is no longer the queen. She is a senator now.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are. Take it away.
Boom. What are the numbers?
Very good
Oh
question.
shit. Same budget as Phantom Menace, $115 million budget.
Damn, you just had that off the dome like
Yeah.
that? That's pretty good.
Yeah, I tried
He
to
knows
memorize
the
it
Star
before.
Wars. He
But the
lives
difference was Phantom Menace made $1 billion. This one only made $653.8 million.
Just
Yeah, but it was a little drop off for Star Wars.
For Star Wars?
For Star
Yeah.
Wars, yeah. That's a drop.
And I'm sure that's probably not even the lowest.
I'm pretty sure it's not. I
Yeah.
think, yeah.
Yeah,
We'll get to there. Yeah, we'll
We'll
get
get
there.
there.
Cinema score of an A-, which is the same as Phantom Menace. So.
I get it. Yeah. I get it. So okay, so where we are in time right now, Palpatine isn't just a chancellor. He is now also a senator.
He's Senator Palpatine. Yes.
Senator Palpatine at
Mhm.
this
Senator
point.
Palpatine.
Mhm.
Yes.
So he's clawing his way
Mhm.
to get more power.
Yes.
Mhm.
And in episode, it is this one where they go to the meeting and they're like flying around. Or
Their
was that
little
episode
hoverboards.
1?
Oh, yeah. Well, no. Well,
Because it starts like Palpatine's fighting, obviously from episode 1,
Mm.
continuing his grasp of power.
Yeah.
And trying to weasel his way
Mhm.
further into democracy.
Yeah, manipulating his way to a
He's trying to
dictatorship.
become Hitler.
Yes.
Yes.
He's basically
Yes.
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 Yeah. And then yes. So then because he's trying to pull certain strings, Padme's twin, whatever, not twin, but her
Keira
decoy,
Knightley.
her
He
decoy.
calls like Keira Knightley.
Keira Knightley, not Keira Knightley, is killed
Mhm.
Yes.
in the very beginning with a terrorist attack
Mhm.
to force fear and make Padme leave,
Mhm.
Mhm.
but stay to put her vote in, and so that Palpatine can force her hand in which way she was going to
Mhm.
vote.
Mhm.
And then her and Anakin go on an adventure
Yes.
Yes.
to where did we say it was? We looked at the actual place that
Oh,
it's filmed.
it's the scenes are filmed in Italy.
Yeah, Lake Como.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
It's Lake Como, Italy, another city in Italy, and then
Mhm.
also Seville, Spain.
Mhm.
I
It's
told
different.
Joseph that I think the first time we watched it, and I was like, "Oh, I've been there," and he's like, "You've
Nice.
been to where they filmed Star Wars?"
You
Like,
been to Naboo?
I was
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, I didn't know where I was like, I didn't know it was in Star Wars or anything because I remember a lot of people just
Didn't even
around,
appreciate it.
and I
Yeah.
did not.
I would have cried.
Yeah.
I did not.
We would have
It was
sat there
pretty.
together just talking.
Wait, the Annie
Sand.
and Padme song.
It's really pretty.
I'm sure it is.
so
Does it have a lot of sand?
There was not a lot of CGI in that part.
No,
of the movie.
yeah.
But I will say there is some terrible
agree.
CGI.
Oh,
in this.
there's
Yeah, there's
just,
some
there's
pretty fucking
yeah.
bad.
Yeah. Like at the time, maybe it was really good, but there's a scene where they're like in Palpatine's office.
Yes,
and
I know
it
what you're
looks
talking
like a PlayStation 1 game.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because it is.
Because it is. I
Simulation.
mean, yeah.
We're all in it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I don't
Get
care
what's happening.
for I don't
Okay.
care for the acting, but I know
it's
we
terrible.
can go. Yeah, I was like, I feel like
Looking back from a retrospective, everyone hated these movies when they first came out. I included. Was not a fan of Phantom Menace. I saw that in theaters at a birthday party, and I was like, "Where are they going with this?"
at 10, you
Well, because I grew up with 4, 5, 6,
Oh,
and I
fair.
was like,
Okay.
it has a certain look, an aesthetic look that I don't feel that they went back to until Rogue One came out. That was the first one that felt like a real Star Wars movie in a while,
yeah.
like aesthetically, storytelling wise, and everything. Everything in the future is very smooth and metallic and silver, and it kind of looked like a 1950s space movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I especially hated a scene where they go to a diner, and it was definitely
Yes.
a 50s diner.
Yep.
That's like,
We're
what are
trying
we
to
doing
find out
here?
where Camino's
Yeah,
at
and I
and
was
all
like,
that
what's
shit,
happening
yeah.
here? But you know, for the time, maybe it was really good. Scorpion King.
Yeah, Scorpion. That's still probably one of the worst ones
Oh,
of all time.
yeah.
That's still the worst
Oh.
CGI I've ever
Yeah.
seen in my life.
I-
This one has bad CGI, and I
Yeah.
agree. The diner thing is fucking absurd.
Yeah.
The dialogue for some of these
Yes,
scenes
the
are
acting, sorry.
fucking horrendous.
But I wonder, is that's not necessarily the actor's fault because
It's
there's
terrible
that's just the writing.
It's
That's
just
a-
Oh
writing.
no,
that's
it's direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said,
Just
"I
some-
want you to play it this way. These
Yeah.
are the scenes. This is what made the final cut because I want you to play it in this very manner.
Yep.
That you are very torn. You feel very neglected, and like I am the best because of his midichlorians, if you will. He's a higher
Yeah.
upper echelon of what a Jedi could be.
Yeah.
Like maybe even topping Yoda. He says it at one
He
point.
says in the first episode 1, he says he's doubled Yoda's.
I thought it was
numbers.
2 because at that point he's like
Yeah.
a cocky
Mhm.
teenager at that point. He's 19, 18, something like that.
Yeah,
In
19.
episode 2.
19.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was what, 9?
Nine
He was
in the
9,
first
yeah,
one,
and
10
it's
years
10 years
past.
later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's like, I'm this way, and he goes, maybe you could being a cocky asshole.
Yeah.
But honestly,
Like you did the
yeah,
accent
the
of that
Obi-Wan.
man.
The Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan.
The Ewan McGregor. Yeah. But he is like you can't doubt it. Like it's what he is, and he needs to play that character a certain way.
A
And-
whiny little bitch.
Yes.
Essentially, yeah.
Because he's being a whiny little bitch because he's like, I feel like I'm better than this and you're holding me back and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And a retrospective look on that, it holds up.
Yeah.
Hayden did an amazing job. At the time when you're watching it, though, you're like, what the fuck is this? Like,
Yeah.
what is he doing? Now looking at it, yes.
That's the character.
Well, that
Yeah.
and I remember like back when these were first released, like Hayden Christensen did get a lot of like heat for this part, but I feel like now with 7, 8, 9 coming out and everybody feeling this way, they're like, oh, he's really good.
People didn't know
And
how
he's
good
like-
they have.
Now-
when
now he's beloved.
when
Now
yeah,
he's like-
oh, he's coming out.
Yeah.
He,
I love
I
it,
just
dude.
saw a
I'm here
video
for
Yeah.
where they're coming out with episode 3 this weekend for the 20th anniversary, and I guess at El Capitan Theater, Hayden Christensen and Samuel L. Jackson just showed up and they surprised. So I mean, like, I feel like this
And he
is great.
killed
that
Mace Windu again.
Yes, he did. Spoiler for 3. But yeah, he, like, I mean, it seems like everybody is really digging them and loving them, and he loves loves the franchise saga. I was gonna say, depending on where you see him fit in here, but I mean, like, I think that's great. So it's I would say that it's the writing, but then there's just some lines that are just like I don't know.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
It's
yeah.
a little rough.
I get what you're saying with
Yeah.
that, and I do agree that there are certain lines and things
Yeah.
that the way
Rough.
it's delivered.
But it's even like
it
not
is
even
a
just
little
him
rough.
too, like Natalie Portman. Like
Oh,
we've
she's got
has,
some
yeah.
real
we've
stinkers.
seen her.
I can't hide behind that because that
Yeah.
is her as an actress.
Well, yeah. Like, I mean, we saw her. Well, no, I thought she was fine in like Leon the Professional, and she was younger.
I know, but she kind of still has that same delivery.
She was
Oh,
That's
no,
just
she
kind of her
does.
signature.
Well, I always questioned why they were so monotone as like the queen, where she's just
I
like,
think it's
I'm this person.
I feel it was because her and like her no, I keep wanting to say stunt double
Her
or twin, but
doppelganger?
her decoy.
Decoy.
Her and Keira Knightley. If you want to think about it, because there's a lot of things that are left up to interpretation, because George Lucas goes, there is world building. There's a reason their braids are like this. I was telling her, he just comes up with shit, and he's like, it has to look used and worn and lived in. It is assumed that her and her decoy came up with that because they could both do that voice. Like, this is our projection voice of when we are being diplomatic.
Got it.
Yes, Chancellor, because her and they could both do it.
Yeah.
So if one needs to be in one place and one needs to be in another, it'll still match and seem right.
Fair. Okay.
That's the only reason that's like that.
Oh, Keira Knightley.
Rose Byrne, also,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
we pointed out. I was like, "Is that her? That is her."
That's her.
3 lines the
Yeah.
whole movie,
She's got a couple in there.
maybe 4 tops.
couple.
Yeah.
I just thought it was funny that she's just back there, just being wide-eyed, like
It's like,
looking
She's
at
just
people,
there.
just reacting to people in
Reacting.
the background.
I just there's a lot of quotes in this movie too, that once again from terrible writing. Just like when she sees Anakin for the first time, she's like, Annie, my goodness, you've grown, and like it just sounds like it's a line written for Jar Jar.
yeah.
But he's like, "Yeah, I'm growing right now. If you know what I mean, baby."
damn. He's
waiting
like,
10 years for
Which,
this.
like, I feel like he automatically just, like, sees her and he's like, I love her. I'm in love with her. I've been in love with her all this time. And, like, I didn't feel that from the first one at all.
Well,
no, he basically tells Obi-Wan that in that elevator when they're going up. He's like, I'm nervous. And he's just like...
No, he doesn't. He senses it. He's like, you're nervous because he's just, like, touching himself. And
Yeah.
he's, like, getting all...
If you really watch it again, episode 1, there are more moments where they spend together, like when he's in his workshop at home.
Yeah,
They
but I
sort of
don't get
it
a
starts
love.
as a friendship. Of
I get more like
I'm
a
young-
brother-sister thing.
Yes, as it does.
Especially when they're going to Coruscant and he's like cold. And she
Yeah.
covers him like, you miss your mom, and he's like,
Yeah.
yes, I do. And just like you don't really get that like,
Yeah.
oh, like he wants
Oh,
that.
he's gonna bone her.
He wasn't thinking he was gonna bone her. He's just like, I've always thought about her every day since that when I was in training, because these people made a difference to me back then.
Yeah.
If
I mean,
you watch,
he
it
does
again,
call her an
there's-
angel right off the rip. It's like, are you an angel? And it's
Yeah.
like, Anakin was spitting game right off.
Yeah.
Nobody saw
Yeah,
her, dude.
yeah.
He was just like, I'm in it.
Yeah.
I'm like,
And then that look at the end of the movie where he's just kind of like, she's smiling at him and he's smiling at her and he's
and
like...
he's twirling his thing like, hey.
Jedi lock.
Like,
Jedi lock, just like,
in a braid.
You know, I got this braid for being
Um,
for being submissive.
so I know we've talked about the acting, we talked about the lines. Obviously, like sand is coarse; it gets everywhere. But like, I just still feel like as a character now, not as like his acting, just Anakin is such a whiny little bitch.
Yes.
So whiny.
Yes.
And just so like, but me. And,
And
like,
yes.
meh.
And I'll ask you that. Do you think it would be like that with Qui-Gon as his master? Or do you think it would
Hell
been,
no, Qui-Gon not
No.
putting up with that shit.
I think if Qui-Gon had lived, that's the reason that Yoda's so against it at first, is because he's more wise. Qui-Gon has a strong feeling because he was closest to him, and that the whole reason they find them is because they're just doing something else. And he's like, yeah, I feel it. And he's like, I feel it too. Like, I feel something's up in the area.
In his pants.
Yeah. So went from 6 to midnight, and I found this young boy
This little
here
boy.
in the middle of the
he
desert.
went from 6 to midnight with his little boy.
And then he like tests the blood, and they find out, yeah, he's got
Yeah.
high midichlorians. If Qui-Gon had lived longer, I think that maybe he would have been like, something's up. But the whole reason is that they're all feeling something. They can't see that far into the future. But you hear, like, even in episode 2, you hear the Darth Vader breath.
Yes.
But that's all he gets is like, what does that have to do with the story that I'm seeing now in his meditation?
Yeah.
Is that
Well, even Yoda hears Qui-Gon being like, Anakin, no. And
Yeah.
then it's like too late. Cause
he'll bring balance to the Force, but it's kind of like, I don't want to bring it to this, but it's very similar. Is Jacob with Bella? It's because, hold on now. Let me cook. It's because
No.
he has a connection to somebody, but he doesn't know why, and it's not to her. It's to her
husband.
daughter.
He imprinted.
He imprints, but he's like, I'm feeling something, but it's not now. It's in the future, and it's crossing time and space, if you will.
Yeah.
My
And that's what
galaxy
it is.
far, far away.
He's going to bring balance to the Force, but it's not the way. It's not
It's not the
him.
not in a good way.
It's not him.
And-
It's just in the future.
And essentially he does, because like, well, we'll get to it.
Well, there's that too. Is
Yeah.
that
We'll build. Yeah,
it,
we'll
it's
build.
it all comes to a crescendo at a certain point in the space opera. It's just not now.
Yep.
And it's not the way they think.
I want to know Mooney's thoughts.
Absolutely.
How many times did you look at your phone?
Not at all, actually. I don't hate the prequels as much as everyone does, or gave it the rap that they hated it. However, I told Joseph when we were watching this movie, and I was just like, I don't remember this. I completely forgot the entire movie. That's how terrible this movie was to me.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
The only thing I remember is the scene in when they get married and stuff, and then
At the
little
end.
bits
Yeah,
and
the end.
pieces. Yeah, at the end.
Yeah.
But
Headshot.
I don't really remember a lot of it, and I told Joseph that when we were watching the one scene where Anakin and Padme are talking to each other, and he's like telling her he likes her or that he's in love, whatever it is, I was like, there's this image in my head that I cannot get out of who he reminds me of. And Joseph was like, is it this person? I was like, yes, because I paused the movie. I'd be like, I can't, like, I have to figure it out. It's another sequel movie that I have forced upon Marissa, and she forced it upon you guys. the After series.
Yes, which we will absolutely get to.
Hayden Christensen, his portrayal of Anakin reminded me very much of Hero when he, or what's
Fiennes,
his name?
Hero something Fiennes.
Whatever his name is in the movie.
It's
When
Ray
he just,
Fiennes'
nephew, whatever.
nephew,
Yeah.
son.
Brother,
No, not his
brother,
son.
It's-
nephew,
nephew,
son?
I think
yeah.
it's nephew.
Nephew.
I feel like it's
Doesn't
nephew.
matter.
it just reminds me of when he's like confessing his love and like telling Tessa like, but I love you, and like you hear like his inner monologue and stuff, and I was like, I can't unsee it.
Yeah, Hero
Now-
Fiennes went to Hayden Christensen school.
Yeah, every time I watch it, I was like, I can't unsee it now. It's forever going
That's
to
so
remind
funny.
me of
Yeah,
After.
I can kind of see that. He does. He
It
looks
also
like him.
doesn't help that they kind of somewhat.
They definitely look
Look
alike.
alike.
Yeah.
The acting is very similar.
That's
Yeah.
why when you were telling me, that's what I brought
Because
it
I
up.
just
'Cause
imagined
I'm like,
in my
yeah,
head, I was
because
like,
I thought
it's a
that too when we
British
were watching
young
those
guy,
movies.
tattoos, and I was like, I can't figure it out. I have the voice in my head, and I remember the line, but I was like, I can't figure it out. And just like, are you talking about this terrible After movie? He's like, yes, thank you. We can continue on with our
Terrible
movie
movies.
now. You're
Terrible
so
movies.
welcome.
I can't wait to go over
But I think with this, my biggest issue with this one is, A, I forgot about it, and 2, I think the where it falls between 1 and 3. I don't hate 1. I actually enjoy 3. I couldn't care less for this one.
2 is just a build up. It's a
Yeah.
tie-in.
It's a build up to get to
Mhm.
where you need to get
gotta
to.
where
Yeah.
you got to go because it plays a bigger part
Yes.
in the whole story.
The best thing to come from 2 was also the Clone Wars series, because
Which
that
I
was
told
able
Joseph,
to
I've seen
expand
The Clone Wars series before I
on the
watched the second
mythos
one.
of the wars and Anakin and Obi-Wan adventures, and then you get Ahsoka. Like, there's
Mm-hmm.
so many things that's 2 is just like, it has to be there to get to the destination that we're going to get to.
Mhm.
It's not a great movie, but you have to have that
Mm-hmm.
to understand where Palpatine is doing. And then you get the Clone Wars, which was a great fucking series.
Yeah.
Even the 10-minute shorts that they used to put on Cartoon Network
Oh,
that
dude.
looked like Samurai Jack style.
If you haven't,
Yeah.
Yeah.
seen those, speaking to you in
I haven't
particular,
either.
you should definitely
pretty
look
good.
those up. Because at first I was like, what is this Cartoon Network kind of like
Yeah.
CGI thing that they're doing? Little did I know, they're making fucking great TV right there.
Cinema.
Yeah.
It was the beginning of like, where could this universe take us?
Yeah.
Yes.
I will say the one positive thing about this movie, it made me want to play Battlefront right after.
That
like all the
Gnosis
little
map is sick as
scenes.
hell.
It made me really want to play.
It's
the video
also,
game.
this movie's also the first time that we see the Death Star as a concept.
Yes.
Mhm.
And that's
The
a
plans get
yeah,
bring
they,
him
they
here,
show it
yeah.
like they have it kind of in the background when they're having that little meeting, and then once they finally was like, "I'll take it to my master," and you're just like,
Yeah.
"Oh fuck!"
because he's been planning this shit.
Mhm. And it
It's
adds
to a
to
T.
Palpatine's mythos as well, because he's
Mhm.
been just always ready to go. Like he's always has, and they kind of try to. Well, we'll get to it later, but no, he's always just been
Yeah.
prepared.
He's
He's
always
always
there.
on to the next plan, and
You
he's
can
always,
almost say Palpatine is the main character of.
I would agree
the
with that.
Star Wars
I would
He's
agree
a
with that.
puppet master.
Yeah, he's been the
He
whole
is the
reason
guy.
that everything is going where it's going is because of.
And the Jedi Council is so clouded
Mhm.
in this point that you just can't see it.
Mhm.
And that's a big thing for me, especially with Yoda, where it's just like, it's right under your nose and you're just getting fucking played right now.
Mhm. Making you feel safe and like reliant on the clones. Keep them close to you, and why you rely on them because you give us greater numbers.
Not even like going like
Only-
Sifo Dyas made an army. Why aren't you looking into that? And then Dooku, and then
Well, and then to
Yeah.
find out, like, well, because she was like, I don't understand this part when it was happening. So, Kamino, we're in Kamino now.
Mhm.
Oh, the space
What,
aliens.
what does this have to do with everything? And it's like, it's a big chunk of the movie that everyone kind of like, I don't really get it, or I don't get it, or I do. But someone is creating a clone army on this planet, and they're like, we're making it for you. You paid for it. It's already going. We've been expecting you. We
Mhm.
haven't seen you in a while. He's like, okay, yeah, I'm playing this part. I'm Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I'm here to oversee what's been going on this
Mhm.
planet that's been erased from these maps.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And who ordered this? Sifo Dyas.
Mhm.
And it's, that he's been dead for 10 years,
Mhm.
and it's been going on
For yeah,
probably sooner than that, but like
yeah.
for a long time they've been growing this army. It's like, what's going on? Why is this happening? To know that Palpatine's like, or I guess at that point it's Dooku, right?
Mhm.
Because Dooku is Palpatine's.
It's so that's
First
where like
in
that's
command.
what we're bringing up.
Kind
like,
of
the books and
branched
stuff.
out,
Like,
but
it started with Plagueis going to Sifo Dyas, and then it went to Palpatine, and then it went to Dooku. So it's been
this
like
plan has been in motion.
yes for a while. Yeah.
Not millennia, but
But,
generations
yeah.
of plan of like, we're gonna take this over.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Because I forgot about Darth Plagueis.
Yeah.
You only hear stories of Darth Plagueis,
Mhm.
but that was one of the greatest Siths that ever kind of.
And then he died.
He died, but it was wild. It was a long time ago.
Or
Did
did
they ever
he
bring
become
that up
one
in
with the
Acolyte?
Force?
Did they talk about
I think that
Plagueis has
showed
never
up.
been shown in anything yet.
yeah.
That
That I
okay?
know of.
That's the Acolyte just came out. So that's a massive spoiler, by the way. What I'm about to say. So if you don't want to get Acolyte ruined because it just came out last year, then whatever.
Did it though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Darth Plagueis shows up at the end of Acolyte.
Oh shit! That would be the
Yeah.
only reason to watch that then.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
That's what
Sorry.
kept Joseph on for the whole season.
There's
Yeah.
that end
'Cause-
shot of him, and I was just like,
Because you always hear
"Oh."
stories and like
Mhm.
the books and the canon things that are no longer canon that are
Yeah.
canon or not. Darth Plagueis is the one that when they're at the space opera. This is jumping forward in a movie, but
Yeah, I was like, episode 2.
okay, fine.
Episode 2, guys.
It's just hard to talk about it when it's like you know the entire
No, but
storyline.
that's how we get the clone army because Darth
Yes.
Plagueis was the first one to introduce Cypher Diaz, who then went to go make the clone army in Camino, which is why when Obi-Wan shows up, they're like, "Oh, hello, Jedi!
yes,
Like, hey,
Jedi,
your army is
yeah,
ready for
everything's
you."
fine.
Even though he's there hunting a fucking bounty hunter, which we can get into that, which
Yes.
is Jango Fett.
Yes. So the entire clone army is based off of one person. What?
Is it very good?
Yes. Yes. Sorry.
Good job,
Thank you.
Joseph.
Sorry, I will go on tangents a lot because we could talk about this shit.
Good. This could
we
be like
could
okay,
talk about
5-hour
it for
episodes
hours.
going into Star Wars lore.
That's why I, for these episodes specifically, like I don't really want to focus too much on any outside episodes or
Then
movies,
I will
there's
go
so
off
much
of the
to
idea
unpack.
that you know what the fuck is going on in Star Wars. That's why you clicked on this video. If you've made it this far. So that
Listen to
being
babble.
said, Camino. We're here because he found Jango Fett's dart and
Yes.
he talked to the 50s diner guy.
Yes, yeah.
And they brings us here.
And then he went to the Jedi temple, to the library, and that one bitch was like, "If it's not in the map, it's not there."
Yeah. Marissa was like space library and I was like, that's exactly
That's
what
exactly what it
space
is.
library, space 50s
Libraries
diner.
in space.
I hate that
diners.
shit.
Yeah, I hated that. I was like, this
shit.
is dumb.
Oh, okay.
Space luggage.
I'm not mad. That's dumb.
There was a handle
I'm
on
not
it.
mad. I'm
It
not
had
mad.
rollers.
I'm not mad about the space library because that just makes it like. I mean, obviously, like there's history and like where do you keep the books and like
Literally
like
in
even like
books.
Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones had their own library, like the Citadel.
And
like,
that makes sense.
Dooku brings it up in episode 2, being like, Mace Windu, like when you die, you'll be in the histories of the Jedi in the library. So he kind of brings it back to being like, you'll be in history books.
space library,
in the space library.
libraries in space.
And it's also interesting too because like with Star Wars text, the Arabish thing, like there's certain people that cannot read printed word, which is in the lore, it doesn't matter. But to have a space library, it's just a giant like computer essentially. And to sit and like literally he's like looking at like newspaper clippings essentially of like it's
So
like
it's old.
yeah, we're like,
old.
hold on, I haven't seen this case is from the 60s.
Yeah, he's just going,
yeah, like looking at
Yeah,
newspapers and shit. Like, I can't find this planet. We're in Camino.
Yeah.
So now he's found Jango Fett. Jango Fett is this entire army. He asked for one clone
To be
to
a
not
son.
be
Altered.
altered,
Yeah.
Okay.
so that he could have a son,
Mhm.
and that being Boba,
Boba
Fett.
Fett.
What a name.
So yeah,
Also
like
tasty beverage.
so then it's this question of like, why do we need this army or whatever? Why is
Mhm.
this being? It must be for the Jedi.
Mhm.
So we'll keep that in the back burner.
Yep.
Because then that's who they call. Who you gonna call?
Yeah.
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters when they come and rescue them from Dooku's weird insect planet that he's on.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, like I blocked all of that out of my head. I forgot about the insect planet. When the creepy aliens from Camino were like, "We've been waiting for you," I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
I think I always mish 2 and 3 together. Like I'm always like, yeah, is this the one where he's like riding on the back of the big lizard?
Oh, yeah.
She said that. I was like,
That's
no,
not
that's
this
3.
one.
That's
Yeah.
3. Because then you
Not
meet
this
another
one.
a very interesting character, I will say, but for another time when we next week, right?
Yeah.
When we get there.
Spoiler: we're doing episode 3.
Oh.
It's May. Like there's a very
I know what you're
interesting
talking
about.
character.
It's gonna
that
be
you-
May.
Very.
It's gonna be
May.
May. So, and then you kind of realize too, like when they're on that planet, what are they doing there? They're building droid armies.
Mhm.
So they're building 2 fake armies that are kind of like fighting each other.
Mhm.
Like instead of losing people, you're losing droids.
Mhm.
And then that's kind of because at a time I was like, why is it more futuristic in the past than it is in the future?
Yeah.
I had a big issue
Yeah.
with that as a child, being like, why are the droids doing everything? And then when you get in the future, it's all
Troopers.
stormtroopers
Yeah.
and clones and things.
Mhm.
And that's wise, because this entity is coming towards you and we need to fight it off, but instead of losing real people, it's all
Droid
droids.
army. Yeah.
Something to think about.
But that's the thing with Palpatine. He needs all that to happen.
Mhm.
He just
Because it's all part
plotting
of a
and
bigger
waiting.
scheme.
Yeah.
That's what this whole movie is just a bigger scheme,
yeah.
of what's happening.
It's a
And
stepping stone.
It's a stepping stone. Yes, to
from 1 to
the payoff.
to 3 to 4.
Yes,
Yeah.
to the payoff, which is in 3, which is what.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll get to that.
Just
But that's why this one, which is like it is like the dialogue's bad. That's on writing.
It's a romance movie.
It's a romance movie.
It's a space opera
Well, yeah.
romance.
Obviously, we see another part of Anakin why he turns is because obviously now he's lost Qui-Gon, which was his only father figure. Now then he loses his mom in this one, and that's a big fucking thing. Like that's
Was
why you
Qui-Gon really that big of an influence to him?
he
he
saved
freed
him
him.
from being
He
a
saves.
slave.
Yes. No. Yeah.
Literally.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. But how much time did he really get with him? Is what I'm saying.
He
Gets a significantly more time
to
with
be
his
f-
brother, aka
to,
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
well, okay. So to be fair, he doesn't say that Qui-Gon is a father. He says Obi-Wan is a father.
Yeah.
That's what's said in the dialogue.
Yeah.
Like
Conflicting.
he's grateful to Qui-Gon, but he's more impacted by Obi-Wan taking him under his
Yeah.
wing and everything.
I think for like Qui-Gon in Anakin's eyes, like you said, he freed him. If like Qui-Gon always said it was the Force that brought us together. And I think he always realized that too as well. But he does say like Obi-Wan's, he's like a father figure to me. Like I don't want him to die because that's the whole when he gets the Obi-Wan message.
Yes. While he's out looking for his mom.
Yes.
Which I don't know if we can skip past that
Mm.
because it's a very integral moment in his becoming a Jedi. Is that
Yeah.
anger turns to the whole thing that
Yeah.
that Yoda says.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. He
And
also it was
Fear
like
turns to
he's-
anger. Anger turns to hate. Hate
Yeah.
turns
Turns
to
to the dark side.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's got a lot of emotions.
He got damn demons, and when he
He got
finds
them
out that
demons, yeah.
Shmi's been
Yeah.
like
God.
essentially a sex slave, probably. I don't know. They don't
Yeah.
imply
They don't
that,
elaborate it, but
Yeah.
yeah.
but she's strapped to,
To
a
the
thing
sand
in
people?
in a tent. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what are we doing here?
She's slapping the sand people.
And then you meet Lars.
Mm-hmm.
You meet Lars and you meet Owen, and you
Mm.
find out that Shmi has Anakin
Married.
now has a brother.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Who happens to be the same age as him.
Yeah, which is kind of weird.
Weird.
But I think it's because the actor is just kind of older.
Well, that
'Cause I think-
are they her children or are they his children from a past marriage?
I think it was his children from a past marriage.
For a past
that's
marriage.
yeah. I was
If
like
I-
that makes
if
more
I'm
sense
being-
age wise.
Yes. So
But that was at that point. That was only family he has, which plays into
Yes.
other shit. But like,
Well, yes.
yeah, and I think, but for him, that moment when she dies, but that's why,
That's
because that's the thing. The
the
Jedi, you
path.
should just kidnap kids. They would not have any connection to their actual family.
Yes.
He did, and that's why I think Yoda was always just like,
Well, yeah.
that's what he brings up. Like,
Shit's
you
smutty,
miss your
and,
mom.
I'm meditating on. I'm thinking.
Mhm.
I'm seeing what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
And there's
But
issues,
he has
but I don't know
attachment.
why.
Yeah. But like he brings it up. He's like, you miss your mom,
Mhm.
and that's a big part of why like he didn't want him to become a Jedi, because then we see what happens when his mom dies. He crashes out, rightfully so. But that's why they kidnapped kids. That's why they weren't trying to have that.
Yeah.
But as the chosen one, it's kind of like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he murders not only the men
but the
But the
and
women.
children too.
and the children.
The younglings.
And I just wish that maybe they spent a little more time on that. Like he gets a couple in, and you're just like, damn.
Yeah.
But then to find out that he just massacred a whole entire
the whole
camp
village.
of Tusken
Yeah.
Raiders.
Whole fucking-
That's
Wild.
a huge step towards becoming
what
what
he
he
becomes.
becomes later on.
Darth Vader.
So then after that being said, then he goes to save Obi-Wan
Mhm.
because he's on that planet. I forget
Mhm.
what it's called at this point.
But the biggest line he says before that
Bug
is that
planet.
like, Mom, I promise I will never lose somebody again. I should stop people from dying.
Yeah.
I should be the most powerful Jedi ever, and that's
And that brings back Darth Plagueis, but we can't get into that yet.
no.
Sorry.
Episode 2.
Yeah.
Only episode 2.
Only episode 2. So now we're on Bug Planet, right? That's where we're at.
And you get the
Bug Planet.
the rhino, the fucking leopard, and
Which is big in Mandalorian. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's the first time you see that creature
Mhm.
Mm.
that the Mandalorian's sigil is.
yeah.
Is the same.
Mm-hmm.
And then that spider
Yeah,
looking
that
thing,
fucking-
and then
yeah.
the rat cheetah cat
The rat and the cat.
thing.
And then we also get the scene where she finally admits that she loves him too.
Yes.
And
That scene where he saves her or whatever, and she jumps on the rhino or whatever thing, and she just like kisses him on the cheek. I was like, oh god.
I just want Obi-Wan back. What the fuck?
Fucking
I made a
roll
joke too
my eyes.
because she was like, "Yeah, oh, she just jumps on the back." And she's like, "Mwah." And then like later on, Obi-Wan jumps on the back, and I wanted her to just be like, "Mwah," and then she's just in the middle of that sandwich, and they're just like,
No, I
"Mwah."
was just like, I want Obi-Wan to just like reach over to like just Anakin and on the cheek too. Everybody kisses him. Thank you, Anakin. You
But
saved us.
Obi-Wan had his own
Oh.
own thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't seen it, so
Clone Wars.
Clone Wars.
Yeah, episode 2, guys.
Yeah. Anyway,
Anyway, trying
So-
to keep you here.
so yeah, so Dooku is sort of, they're like, who's this guy, Dooku? He's kind of like, you all right? You got fuzz?
Oh
over
yeah,
there?
I just saw it. Sorry.
So we got
Continue.
the Dooku and the Trade Federation again, and they're still like this weird entity of like, it's still the Trade Federation that they're worried about, trying to make their trade embargoes and like kill
Padme.
Padme
Mhm.
and make their own thing.
She's so integral.
Yeah, that's still like what's happening. That's what's happening. We need to stop that because we don't know that it's a greater thing going on. But that being said, Dooku still gets away.
He
Obviously,
does. Well, I mean, he kicks Obi-Wan and Anakin's ass,
yeah.
and then Yoda.
Well, that's only because Anakin just is
Cocky
like,
Anakin.
like,
I'll
like
take
even
it
like
myself.
Obi-Wan's like, I got like, we'll just do it
Do this
together. He's
together.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
and he's already gone.
Yeah,
Like a
that-
child.
Yeah, because he can't control
he
his
can't.
anger.
Yeah.
He cannot.
Oh yeah, because
Especially because like after Padme fell off the thing and he wanted to go back and like Obi-Wan to be like, what would she do? And he's like, all right, now he's locked in and he's just cocky. And he's like, I'm gonna take him.
Yeah, we laugh because they just leave the droids. They always just leave them and then they just end up back. Like they probably like, we're gonna go do this, and then they come back. and
Even
like,
when
"Get
they
in the
when they
fucking ship."
land where Dooku's at, the fucking ship still gets hit and explodes. I'm like, damn, dude. I'm like, they didn't even
it's
get
a-
away.
It's a rough battle.
Yeah.
But it's again, this is the first battle which initiates the Clone Wars
Mm-hmm.
and that whole storyline that goes into Episode 3.
Yeah.
But again, they're ingratiating the fact that like we depend on these bodies to help
Mhm.
us fight this war,
Mhm.
and that's the main thing that this whole movie's doing is just setting up like we trust these guys. They're gonna do the orders that they
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
The Jedi bought them.
Mm-hmm.
I like in the scene where they're doing the battle or whatever with all the creatures and the bots and everything. There's a moment where like Anakin and Padme are together and they like take cover in like this little like
Little
cart
overturned,
or whatever,
yeah,
and you
chariot.
just see like Natalie Portman and she's just like shooting, but nothing's coming out. Like you can see that she's just like doing this, and then in her brain she's like, yeah, they're gonna add these bullets in later. Like you see it and nothing's
Post-production's
coming
got
out.
it.
Yeah, she's like nothing's coming out, and she's just kind of like pew pew. pew
She's making the sounds, dude. That would
Yeah.
be fire. She's like,
Yeah, pew pew.
Well, they did that when they were doing the.
the,
As soon as it was Liam Neeson and Ewan McGregor.
Oh, they got,
They'd always be, and they're like, guys, we're gonna add that in post. Like, I'm so sorry. I can't. I'm sorry. And I'm not gonna lie, I would do the same thing. She'd be
Oh,
like, and they'd be like, don't do that. Oh, sorry. Take it
Sorry
again.
about
Take
that.
it again. Yeah. Yeah.
And now we have these obviously lovely toy lightsabers
Mhm.
that make the noise for you.
Just turn it on.
Turn on. Oh my god, it's burning through the couch!
Super cool. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously Star Wars is huge in merchandising, as you
Oh
can
man,
tell.
they merchandise that shit. Merchandising.
Merchandising.
Star Wars the pop. Star Wars the,
the
pillow.
t-shirts.
Star Wars the Lego
The
set.
breakfast cereal.
Yeah.
So 2, I would say, I mean, yes, we're getting a lot of like key points, which like I'm slightly thankful for, because like I don't, once again, like with every Star Wars movie we get this text, right? It's like the thing that is in every Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
I feel like these two movies have the shortest text though.
They
Yes, they do.
Yeah, they probably
because they're
do.
like, this is happening.
And like, yeah, because the other movies are very much like a wrap up of like what's happening, which like once again you're getting thrown into this world, so like you kind of need like a basis for like what are the Jedi and all this stuff, and like you have no idea what's kind of happening, and you're kind of need an intro, but at the same time, I don't know. I'm just Marissa's pet peeve of text and before film.
Because if you watch, I mean, if you just got rid of that at the very beginning and it was just you're following these people, would it make it a better movie? Would you understand what's
I feel
happening?
like I would feel the same because they end up talking about everything anyway.
Kind of, yeah.
So, I don't know. And it's not like they're like, oh, we're here on Tatooine. You know, the one planet where this happens. Like, they don't.
I
give
feel
that
like
kind
the
of
only
exposition.
reason they did it is because they started in episode 4. And he's like, this is what's been happening just to catch you up.
Yeah.
We're in episode 4, by the way, out of however many. But you go, okay, what about 1, though?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
this is what's happened. And then because of that, okay, well, the 5's got to have, well, now 6. Okay, well, now 1, 2, and 3 got to have, okay, and then
Yeah.
7, 8, 9.
And then everybody too, when we got like 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, we're like, are they gonna do the sub thing, and
Yeah.
are they gonna open
Yeah.
it up with the music and the blah, blah, blah.
Turn the flash off, you fucking moron.
But even like, I mean, obviously, but what we're getting at is that obviously like Star Wars is huge. It's very obviously pop culture. We have merchandising and all that stuff. Like even like our opening, obviously this, if hopefully you've seen more than just this episode, our opening features, actually, I think doesn't it feature a scene of us doing like the Star Wars thing, or is that just like a clip? Shit, now that I'm thinking about it.
What are you
The
talking
burning of the marshmallows.
Ryan.
about? Oh, yeah.
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 I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, that is in case, yeah, if you're here from the whole way, that is what that is a reference
Yeah.
to.
That is our reference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huge.
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 Yeah.
Yeah.
So the ending of episode 2, we pretty much see that against Jedi wishes, Anakin and Padme get married,
Secretly married.
Secretly married.
secretly married. Which
Like
how
to
is
see
that
3PO and
not
R2.
secret? Yeah, I was like, I don't understand. How
What do you mean, how is it not secret?
How's it not secret? How do they not know?
Who?
Who?
Everybody.
Because they did it in
They know.
secret.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody knows.
They know.
It's not secret.
Clone Wars.
They know. But yeah, there's more to it than that.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm thankful for is we don't get a lot of Jar Jar.
We get enough
We
of
get
Jar
enough
Jar.
of Jar Jar.
And I don't
enough.
know if it's real or not, but in episode 1, there is a deleted scene that I feel like, if it's fake, it is the best fake that I have ever seen.
What was it?
It's when they pop up from being at the
From the
Gungans
Gungans?
after they
Yeah.
escape that giant fish.
Yeah.
Boom, they all pop up and he goes, oh, it's a waterfall. And he does the thing and they like crawl across to get out. Jar Jar does not get out in time, and it takes the ship over the waterfall. Jar Jar dies.
That would have been.
And it's if it's fake, because I've not seen the special features for episode 1. I don't own that on like any Blu-rays or anything like
Yeah.
that. It is the best
fake of all time.
the
if
best
it
fake
is,
of all
yeah.
time. Like I was like, holy
Ooh,
shit, was that
I've
a
never,
real
I've
story?
never seen that.
I'll have to send it to
Yeah,
you.
I've
Maybe
never seen
we
that.
can put it in post somewhere. Maybe if
It
we
just
want, but-
that would have been fine because, but then they make him a big part of 2 because without
Exactly,
him,
yeah,
you
yeah.
don't get the clone troopers.
That's why I feel like it's probably a fake. But
Yeah.
goddamn, they did a great
That would
job.
be
They
great.
did a phenomenal job of it.
Oh, man, Darth Jar Jar for the win, dude.
Yeah, but that is also
Jar
something
Jar.
that I feel that is a great theory because there is balance and one is taken out, but there's always 2. But then you know that there's more than 2 because then there's Dooku. There's
But that's the
Hayden
theory I heard. Where
Christensen.
from the Sith way, it's Dooku, Palpatine, but in the Senate, it was Jar Jar and Palpatine there.
Yeah.
So that's what was the.
And then technically doesn't, I was like, I feel like it's not in a movie series, but just to answer my question, Darth Maul doesn't technically die at the end of
He
War.
does
Darth
not.
Maul is not killed.
Yeah, okay.
Darth Maul plays a big part in Clone Wars
Yes.
Yeah.
and also in Solo, which
Yes.
Yes.
He becomes
Are
a
we
spider
gonna
robot
tackle-
thing in Clone Wars, and then
No,
he gets.
we're not
for that
tackling
one and not
Solo
for Rogue
because it's a
One.
standalone.
Yes, it's
But
a
are
standalone
we tackling
spin-off.
Rogue One?
Not this time. I don't know if Marissa wants to include.
Because I mean, technically,
Technically, they are all encompassed, but like for this series, we're just going to tackle 1 through 9.
okay.
We're going to do the main
Okay.
series, and then if you guys want to see us do it, if you're just die hard,
We can-
really
we
want to
can
know
do
our
them
thoughts
later on in
it,
the future,
you can
yeah.
force Marissa to watch Rogue One again.
I
and
want
be
to
really
see
sad.
us do it.
Yeah,
I love Rogue One.
Man for it.
unless there's a demand.
If there's
Yes.
demand,
There's
let us know
demand.
in the
I'll start the
comments.
petition.
Yeah. let us know in the
demand
comments.
on it, then absolutely it would have to be mentioned even if we do Summer for 4 because of the ins and outs of how that takes
Yeah.
place.
I think now would also be a good time to mention too, if you guys ever want to see us do any specific sequels, please let us know. I mean, we're just kind of creating a schedule as we do.
Well,
So
I will say this, that someone a while ago did want to see.
we did, and we did address that in the episode, and we had stated that we would like to keep certain genres in around certain time frames. So like obviously Halloween
Seasonal thing.
would
We
probably
did
do
not
it.
forget about you.
Yeah,
Halloween
it seemed
will
more.
get done.
Yeah, I was like, that just seems
Just-
more appropriate to do during a spooky season.
Which is why we're doing Star Wars in May because
Yeah.
May
Yeah.
4th, you
May
know,
4th
Yeah.
to be
May the
with
4th
you.
the
be
first
with
Star Wars
you.
movie came out in May.
Yeah,
Like,
there's a reason to our madness.
yes.
But if there are if there's a specific sequel that you want to see us cover and talk about, please let us know in the comments. Please reach out.
We will shout you out
And yeah,
too.
well, yeah, I was like,
Good, bad, ugly. Continued.
Continued,
We will shout you out.
Yeah,
And
the only
we have.
the only I guess like what should I say, like criteria that needs to be met is that it does need to be a sequel. So we're
Yeah.
not doing reboots just yet.
When we've dried up the sequel pool, we will go into reboots.
Yeah,
possibly.
if you guys want to see us do reboots eventually, we will absolutely conquer, but for now that's our only criteria, is that it be a sequel.
Yeah, absolutely.
So more than 2.
Yeah, more than. Well, yeah.
than 2.
As long as there's 2.
As long as
we
there are
will
2,
do it.
we'll do it. Yeah.
And we've killed
Rule of 2.
Rule of 2. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, shit.
rule
Oh,
There we
whoa.
go.
Balance.
Balance.
Gotta balance it out.
Balance of the force.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So any other thoughts on episode 2? Why did you look at me like that?
Because I was like, I got lots of thoughts on Star Wars that I will talk about.
Well,
I know, but
episode
episode 2,
2.
that's why I would. Yeah, no, you're right.
I
Episode
want
2.
to add one thing
Please do.
because I know Joseph mentioned it. I actually don't hate Jar Jar Binks. I think he entertains me in a way that he's so fucking stupid and ridiculous.
Your cringy comedy relief, which is.
But I like it. I think it
Oh.
worked, and the way like his voice,
I don't know if it works. I think it's just.
it works for me.
There's
It
a
works for
lot
you.
of
It entertains
voices
me. Yeah.
that
It's a voice
are
that works for the way he
questionable.
looks. There's definitely questionable voices.
Oh, Trade Federation.
Trade Federation is a choice for that entire species of alien.
Oh,
Wow,
yes.
That's right.
Watto,
Yeah, it's another one.
that is a
That's-
choice. But it always reminds me of the guy, I think, what is it? His name is like Brian Callen.
Yes, from like Hangover. That's like the same character, dude. It's the same fucking voice and the same
in
thing.
Hangover, when they go to the bridal place where he got married or whatever, and they talk to that guy. Do you remember? No. Okay.
I haven't seen The Hangover, and
When we do those movies, I will bring up that
Yes.
same character sounds exactly
Same
like
delivery and everything.
Watto.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't remember.
I'll
Every
I'll
time-
show you
For some
later. I'll
reason.
show you after this, and then when it comes around again, we'll talk about
Mhm.
it.
Every time he talks about when Watto mentions little Annie, I just picture in my head
Little Orphan Annie.
little orphan Annie.
That's what Marissa said too.
Little
Which is
Orphan
very funny.
Annie. Little Orphan Annie.
Do we have any fun facts that we want to throw in before we close this bad boy out?
No, but I kind of wanted to break off because she mentioned the comic relief of Jar Jar.
Mm-hmm.
They try to throw in some like comedic lines in episode 2, which are a little rough.
Mm-hmm.
Just like little like funny things where like what's-
Negotiations were short.
yeah, like
He's
in
like,
his face,
"Could
and
I
then
love
like
him
the one,
anymore?"
what is it, where he, Anakin's in the little like the line belt, and it like cuts his lightsaber in half, and he's like, oh, "Not again! Obi-Wan's gonna kill me."
That's exactly
Yeah.
what I was thinking when you
Like,
said that.
oh
Like the
my
line,
God.
that's the one
And
scene
it's-
that always pops up.
As
I'm
soon
like,
as he said that, I looked at her and I was like, "Wah, nah, 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 nah,
Nah,
wah."
Yeah, he looks at the camera and just goes like, "Wah, wah, wah, wah."
Yeah.
Just-
Sad trombone plays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just, oh,
yeah, they added way more in the second one. Where you're just like, wait, what? I'm like,
Yeah, they're trying to get
keep
the
interest.
catchphrases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that the first one especially was trying to get that drawback into Star Wars, because that was the first Star Wars that we gotten in a long time.
I know people were. Do remember people were really pumped when they were like, we're gonna do Phantom Menace. Like even like they created a whole movie about it.
What? Yeah.
So which what was that? Fanboys.
Fanboys.
Yeah. Which you haven't seen that. It is not a sequel. We will not be covering it, but it's great.
It is a good movie. You should watch that movie.
Yeah, absolutely great. So yeah.
Oh, I have one fun fact.
Yeah,
real quick.
hit us.
Since we mentioned our boys in sync with our little "It's Gonna Be May," I read that they originally filmed a small part to be in the movie because I think somebody, the director, producer, anyone's daughter was a big fan of NSYNC, so they filmed the scene for it and it got cut out.
Oh,
well,
interesting.
It's Gonna Be May.
Really?
Like a droid
No
boy
idea.
band, or I wonder what their plan was with
Probably a band playing
Club
in,
scene.
In the bar, in the club,
Yeah.
in that club scene.
Oh man, and that is something that I do like.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a good way to world build in this universe that we live in, and them walking into that club and just you see like, obviously there would be sporting events, there would be TVs or whatever playing things that they have interests in, and they party. And I feel like it's only episode 2 and episode 8. What's the one where like they go
they're
to
doing
that,
the gambling thing.
gambling
Yeah.
on those
Last
weird
Jedi.
horses, and it's
Yeah.
like this weird rich planet
Have a casino,
that
horse
exists,
racing,
but like
yeah.
that was a little. There's a good way to do it, episode 2,
little
and there's
excessive.
a bad way to do it.
Yeah, it was a little
later on.
excessive.
But I did really like that because you like go back to your drinks Jedi business.
Yes.
Because you only ever really see like the cantina.
And I always wanted to do more on the underworld of Coruscant because that was always like a big fucking thing I've always heard about,
that
read
was
about.
supposed to be kind of solo, but
But they never, yeah.
kind of shit the bed on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I agree. But there was a great a tie-in video game where you were a bounty hunter.
The Jango Fett game?
The Jango Fett
That game slapped. Yeah.
Great concept. Of
Mhm.
like you play this character and
You're a Coruscant,
you
yeah.
bounty hunt people, and seeing that happen in that world they live in with the flying cars and everything was very cool.
Yeah, that Rhino in episode 2 was in that game.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a big part of that game. Where, yeah.
very cool.
Anything else?
Yeah, we'll leave it at that until next week.
It's really hard.
It's hard.
Just stick with it. It's
Because
hard.
it's
One
something
movie.
that's been a
One-
part
it's one
like,
movie.
For
I didn't
my
think it was going to be
entire-
that hard, but now it's
my
like,
entire
fuck.
childhood is like, how do I talk about this without bringing up context of like I can't just. But again, we from here going here forward, we will assume that you know things about Star Wars. That's
Yeah, I
why
was
you
like, if
clicked
you
on this
want,
video.
I was gonna say we can do, if you guys really want, we can do like a mini wrap up video where you can consume your thoughts on anything Star Wars.
It should just be
And
them.
just
leave
go.
them for like
Yeah, I was like, we'll
put a
just
camera
go.
in front of them.
We'll do Star Trek, you know.
I'll
we
join
are gonna
them.
have to do Star Trek.
We have
though.
to do
I'll
Star
join
Trek too,
them.
yeah.
I don't know.
I'll join them with the Star Wars. I won't do Star Trek.
You want to do Star Trek?
That's racist.
I've seen the Chris Pine Star Trek movie.
Like, they have a sequel?
Those count, but there's also
Only one.
like
I seen the first one. I was like, I'm good.
Well, they have a sequel, though. You
Still
can,
a
there's
sequel.
3 of them shits, isn't there?
I just
Oh,
want to
there's
see
three.
Chris Pine.
But interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
It's
three.
like Star Trek and then Into Darkness and
Mhm.
something
And then
else.
there's
I just
something
know
else.
Not to
this
mention
from
all the
Star
William
Trek, that's
Shatner
all I
ones
know.
and the Jean-Luc Picard movies
Mhm.
and
Oh, yeah, there's plentiful.
oh my
Oh,
god,
yeah.
yeah.
If you want to see us do that, well, we're only going to cover one space opera at a time.
yeah.
One at a time. So do we want to rate this?
Yes,
Absolutely.
I will
Okay.
only just get it out of my way.
Wow.
Get out of the.
Just like Liam Neeson, Taken.
Too soon.
This movie
He's still alive.
This movie is just so forgettable for me, and I understand the importance of this
Yeah.
movie. It does make me want to watch the Clone Wars TV show. I never finished it. I've seen bits and pieces, and it kept my interest. But maybe to understand like everything in a grand scheme of things, 2. I'll give 2 a 2.
2 2.
2 a 2. The power of what did you say? Power of 2?
Power of 2.
No.
I mean, also,
The power of Jedi compels you.
it does compel him.
Yeah, I'll stick with the 2.
Okay.
Does it make you want to go to Italy?
Turks and Caicos or something.
I've already looked up flights to go to Italy.
It's Italy.
I know.
I'm gonna go to the south of Italy and eat some pizza.
Ooh, that
It's a good
sounds
time.
Some Neapolitan pizza.
It's a great time.
It was a great
We
time.
should
I
definitely
enjoyed
do
it.
that.
We should.
Again.
We should all go.
At the Naples.
No.
No.
In
okay,
Italy.
I was like, oh my god.
We
Wait,
go
do
to
that
the-
again?
We go to the Naples in Naples.
Great spot. Where'd you go?
Joseph. Do you want to take this?
Yeah. Dialogue's rough.
Yeah.
I understand where it's coming from. I understand what George is trying to do. It's just, it's a rough watch. I had a great time watching Phantom Menace. I was very bored watching episode 2, as usually happens. I usually skip this one for that reason.
It's a rough follow-up.
It's a rough follow-up, and it just feels like we're doing this just so you can get to everything else, which is fine, but also for a fucking 2 hours something long movie, it is a rough watch. So I am at a 1.5.
It is such a long movie.
It is long. Yeah,
both 2 hours.
Both 2.5 hours ish, around that. So it's for me, I definitely agree. Like, is the main question for me is like, is it needed? I get he felt that it was needed because I need to explain trade law in space. It's like, we get it. It's a trade embargo. We got you. Naboo's Cuba at this point or whatever.
I mean, to be fair, he made episode 4, so you had to have 3 episodes. So what are you going to fill it with?
Yeah.
He could have easily made episode 4, episode 3, and then crammed 1, 2, and 3 into 2 separate movies.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree. It is forgettable, and I forgot a lot of things that happened in this movie. I'll give it a 2. Yeah. In retrospect, like, this isn't my favorite of the prequels, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
There are ones that are very much higher than this. And that's where I stand on the Star Wars.
For now. Very good. I feel like this one just hits me more nostalgically. Like, it reminds me of a better time that was in cinema, where we would go to actually do midnight showings, and
we peaked at a certain time, didn't we?
It was such a better time. But I don't know, like, I don't mind it. I think I just, once again, it makes me think of like fonder memories of like things that I've done with it. And I just love quoting all of the lines. Like, I feel like no matter what beach we're on, we always say the sand line. I don't mind seeing any movie with Ewan McGregor. He's a good time.
I don't either.
He's a great time.
I've enjoyed almost every movie he's in.
Trainspotting?
Never seen it.
Oh,
that
I
I've
should
seen.
see Trainspotting.
I
haven't seen the other one, which is.
We'll talk about it because it has a sequel now.
We'll talk about it. But I mean, I can't really hate on it too hard. I don't know. Star Wars. Okay, this is gonna be a big statement. This is gonna be a huge statement. No. Just in general. Oh, don't. Oh, bless you. This is gonna be a big statement. Star Wars doesn't affect me as deeply as a lot of people. I know that it's like it's part of your. It's part of. It's a lot of people have like Star Wars tattoos and Star Wars the action figures. Like, none of these figures are really like, these are Ryan's thing. That's like it's your stuff.
Jar Jar.
Yeah. Oh my god, like a Steve-O. Yeah, a Steve-O.
Jar Jar. Decent good tattoo.
Oh my.
Oh my god.
Breaking stuff.
See? Controversial statement. We're
I know
breaking
it's probably a controversial statement. Please don't come for me. It's just like, I feel like it's.
I feel like there's a lot of people that agree with you.
Yeah, at this point, I just like I'm personally just like, all right, another Star Wars thing, more Star Wars. Like, it's great. Like, the world, I'm down with. We all have gone to Disneyland and we've seen the Star Wars world, and like, as much as that's cool to be immersed in the buildings, I would want more.
They could
personally.
Do more there.
Yeah, I feel
they
like
could do
they
way
can do
more.
better.
You got so much money. Come on, give it to us.
You have that much money, and that's what you gave us.
Just give it to them. Yeah,
That's a different part.
Not
I
even
will
me.
go
Just
off on that. I will go off.
You.
But 2 is just.
also, I can't eat any of the food there, so I'm really upset. But I mean, like, in the long term of like episodes 1 through 9, I would say that this is probably like one of the least favorite ones. But I still have a good time. Like, when it's on, I'll watch it. It's good background. So I'm gonna give it a 2.5.
That's
A
fair.
little bit higher.
It's fair.
Just a smidge.
It's important for the story as a whole, a standalone thing.
Yeah.
I feel like we all it's averaged out where it should be, probably.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, out of the 9, it's probably the second worst for me.
Is 8 the first?
No.
Or
Oh,
Nine?
like,
wait. Sorry.
yeah.
Yes.
We'll get there.
Okay, we'll get
Oh,
there.
my-
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
you're
that's
right.
fine,
You're right.
that's
You're right.
fine.
No
But-
spoiler. No spoilers for that.
Sorry, that was like a personal, like, I want to know now.
No,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
yeah.
After.
Tell me
we'll
after.
talk about that after.
All right. Well, with that said, if you want to continue on our Star Wars journey with us next week, we're talking about episode 3. But thank you so much for watching our thoughts on episode 2. Please make sure to like, subscribe, follow, leave your comments if you want to see us cover any of your favorite sequels or not favorite sequels. Please let us know, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
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 Thanks for listening. Until next time, the podcast, a show so sublime. Marissa, Mooney, Joseph, and Ryan signing off with glee. Join us next episode for more sequel revelry.